Hi guys, this is Preeti and you're watching my Solution. In this video, I'll be teaching you about the gangrene, which is a important question for the 5-mark question. 5-mark question they'll ask us the difference between the dry gangrene and wet gangrene, and it will be as a short note. They'll say add a note on gangrene in a 10-mark question under necrosis. Gangrene definition means necrosis plus putrefaction. After the necrosis is a type of cell death. After the cell death, it start decomposing. This decomposition is a putrefaction. After necrosis, with this putrefaction, necrosis and putrefaction together we call as a gangrene. Gangrene it appears as a dry color. This cell death may be coagulative necrosis. Any necrosis cell death there are two types: necrosis or apoptosis. Apoptosis means where it's programmed cell death, means it before the prepares cell death because of any like injury. It may be example necrosis it may be any necrosis like coagulative necrosis, liquefative necrosis, caseous necrosis, fat necrosis, fibrinoid necrosis. Any of the necrosis along with the putrefaction, bacterial decomposition is known as gangrene. It appears grossly, it appears black in color. Black in color you can see here. There are two types of gangrene. On the types if we come, there are two types of gangrene: dry gangrene and wet gangrene. This is a gangrene where black color discoloration. This is a gangrene in the colon. There is soft tissue gangrene. Soft tissue gangrene means this is a wet gangrene. This is a dry gangrene where you can see the distal part of the at the edges of the foot. You can see. And the gangrene in the dry gangrene you can see the line of demarcation. This is a normal area and this is a gangrene like necrotic area. Here you can see the line of demarcation. This is a dry gangrene. This is a wet gangrene in the colon. In the soft tissues you see the wet gangrene. In the distal parts of the limb you see the dry gangrene. DD you can remember, dry gangrene seen in the distal parts of the limb. And the features like types, if we come across the types there are two types: dry gangrene and wet gangrene. And name says dry gangrene will be dry and wet gangrene will be wet in appearance. And other variant of wet gangrene is a gas gangrene. Gas gangrene is a variant of wet gangrene. This is caused by due to the bacteria Clostridia, which is a gram positive anaerobic bacteria which causes gas gangrene. And dry gangrene, now we come across the dry gangrene, which we will discuss one by one. Dry gangrene caused due to the occlusion. First I have said like it should be necrosis and then putrefaction. Necrosis is caused due to the arterial occlusion. There is a loss of blood supply. Occlusion due to the atherosclerosis, deposition of fat in the this is an artery. This is a pipe like thing. The deposition of some mud or something, there will be no flow of water. Similarly, this is an artery. This is deposition of cholesterol, so it get occluded, no blood flow will be there, so it causes ischemia, which further causes like a deprivative of nutrition to the cells and then causes necrosis. The necrosis followed by bacterial putrefaction is called gangrene. Dry gangrene, arterial occlusion will be there. Example, atherosclerosis. The site where this dry gangrene takes place is the distal part of the limb, as I have shown in this limb diagram. This is the distal part of the limb where dry gangrene takes place. Dry gangrene takes place, and line of demarcation you can see in the dry gangrene. And site I have said distal part of the limb, that is leg, foot or toe. Grossly you can see dry and shrunken thing. You can see dried thing. You can see there is no wet thing, as the name says. This appears dark brown or black color. This dark brown or black color is due to the ferrous sulfate, formation of ferrous sulfate. Bacteria will be there, as I already said. Bacteria will be there. Bacteria produces hydrogen sulfate, which reacts with iron in the hemoglobin. There will be a breakdown of RBCs, and it contains hemoglobin. Hemoglobin contains iron. It comes out and forms iron combines with hydrogen sulfate and forms ferrous sulfate, which gives black in color, and it resembles the foot of the mummy. And as I already shown in the image, the line of demarcation can be seen in the dry gangrene. The line of demarcation will be between the normal tissue, which is a viable tissue, which is a normal tissue, and the gangrenous area. You can see line of demarcation. Microscopically, dry gangrene is example like occlusion. I already showed occlusion or due to ischemia. That is a coagulative necrosis. Because of coagulative necrosis, after the coagulative necrosis, there will be putrefaction to cause a dry gangrene, and the line of demarcation can be seen. In the line of demarcation there will be granulation tissue with the inflammatory cells. Inflammatory cells has necrosis happen. Necrosis has a characteristic feature of inflammation. And wet gangrene is due to the cause will be due to the venous occlusion. That is during hernia there will be strangulation, and then it constricts it compresses from above. The venules will be compressed, and then there won't be blood flow, and the site will be soft tissues like internal organs, where soft tissues, lungs, bowel and mouth. Here wet gangrene will take place, and then the moist areas like mouth, lung and bowel. And then gross will be like it will be soft, as there is wetty and swollen. It will be cold because of this liquid, and this is putrefied by the bacteria. This number of bacteria will be abundant in wet gangrene, so putrefaction will be more. So coagulative necrosis will be converted into liquefaction necrosis. It appears dark and black color, as the name gangrene itself says. There is no line of demarcation there. In a dry gangrene you could have seen the line of demarcation between the normal area and the necrosis area. Here there is no line of demarcation, and microscopic feature will be the liquefaction necrosis. There it was coagulation necrosis. Coagulation necrosis was superimposed by liquefaction necrosis because of abundance of bacteria present over there. And we will discuss about the gas gangrene. Gas gangrene is one of the variant of wet gangrene. It is a special type of wet gangrene. It is caused due to the anaerobic bacteria, that is Clostridium perfringens, and this enters the tissues. There will be wound. You think this is a hand and you got wound here, and there will be this will be contaminated by some dust or something. Through this bacteria enter, this Clostridium enters and releases a toxin which causes necrosis of this area and edema of this area. Edema, this is inflammation. Necrosis will always accompanied by the edema. And other sub question we have to discuss is the difference between the dry and wet gangrene. Dry gangrene and wet gangrene. General features will be site where it occurs. D you can remember distal parts of the limb. Dry gangrene will be there, and wet gangrene will be in a soft tissues like lung, bowel and mouth, etc. And the example for a dry gangrene, due to I said already, the cause for dry gangrene will be arterial occlusion, and the cause for wet gangrene is venous occlusion. Gangrene, this example will be gangrene due to arteriosclerosis, occlusion of artery by some cholesterol or something else. There will be occlusion, occlusion of artery, and this is ovules. The cause for this will be ischemia is the cause for both of this, but here arterial occlusion will be there. Here in a wet gangrene, venous occlusion will be there. The rate of obstruction for the blood flow will be slow in dry gangrene, whereas it abruptly occur in wet gangrene. Gross features will be appearance, how it appears. It will be dry as the name says, and this will be wet as the name says, and this will be shrunken, so it appears dry, and this will be swollen, so and accumulating more fluid, it appears wet. And bacterial putrefaction will be less in dry gangrene, whereas more will be in wet gangrene. Line of demarcation we can see in a dry gangrene, whereas we cannot make out the difference between the viable tissue and the gangrenous tissue in a wet gangrene. Spread will be, dry gangrene will spread slowly, whereas wet gangrene spreads rapidly. And prognosis better in dry gangrene than wet gangrene. This is all we learned, that is definition of gangrene, types of gangrene, dry gangrene, causes, site and gross and microscopic feature, wet gangrene, and the same thing, cause, site, gross and microscopy. Gas gangrene, which is a special type of wet gangrene, and difference between a dry and wet gangrene. This is separately important for a 5-mark question. And gangrene, as a small note, they will be asked as a sub question in a 10-mark question. If you find my videos helpful, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.